Welcome to Box Recaps. Today I'm going to explain the movie Scintilla, released in the year 2014. The movie begins with a man chained up in a prison where he's being subjected to various kinds of torture. His name is Jim Powell, and he used to be a mercenary. One day, a man named Harris comes to see him. Harris is an old member of Powell's team and tells him that they have a contract. If Powell agrees to the deal, he will be set free. The contract entails that they infiltrate and escort a doctor to a bunker, where they have to gather some information and take out another doctor. They will be provided information by Lila Healy, who worked in the lab previously. Powell agrees and reforms his team, including soldiers Steinman, Mason, and Corey, and engineers Harris and Williams. Jim is frustrated to learn that corporate security man Spencer will be joining them, but Healy insists. The team drives up to the former Soviet Republic of Azerbaijan and under the cover of the night begins to walk through the forest. They are all armed and move with stealth. On their way, they come across bodies hanging from trees, which is a foreboding sight, but they keep on moving towards their target location. By dawn, they've neared the facility, and while making their way through the woods, they come across a minefield and catch sight of a motorbike track, which is pretty fresh. Powell tells them to follow it so that they can stay safe from the mines. As they're walking along the path, they hear a motorbike and the incoming scout. Immediately, everyone finds cover to hide and prevent being found. The scout is on a bike and dressed up in white and red, along with a helmet and a mask in the shape of a human skull. Despite the team being hidden, the scout senses something and gets off the bike to investigate. He almost nears the place where the team is hidden, and Spencer prepares to shoot the guy before he's told not to by Jim. Eventually, the scout retreats, and the team continues on their way. They are soon within sight of the facility, and Steinman looks through her sniper's lens to scope out the security. The militia is made up of criminals, who are led by their leader, El Dictador, whose hobby is to set people on fire for fun. Steinman continues by saying that the place used to be a Soviet army barracks. Powell asks her about the facility, which she replies is underground. It's a bunker system dating back to the Cold War, and only Healy would know more about it. Powell nods and says it's time to send in Williams and Harris, who will get inside by posing as technicians. We observe different people, dissidents as explained by Steinman, being brought into the facility. The team also spots the scout on a bike, who nearly discovers them, and it turns out to be a young girl. Young though she may be, she is as much dangerous as the rest of the militia, as they see her ruthlessly shoot and kill one of the dissidents. There's a tense scene when Harris speaks to the militia guards in Russian, but the men turn out to be Uzbeks. Harris takes a large swig of his vodka and steps out. He pretends to be drunk and rants to them about Russians, calling them weak and laughing at Williams, who is watching in tense silence in the car. The mercenary team looks on in suspense, ready to shoot, but Powell tells them to wait. Just then, the leader begins to laugh with Harris and shares the vodka, and so Williams and Harris enter. They make their way inside and, using the CCTVs, guide their team into the vicinity. The biker girl comes in to check on them, but gets suspicious of Williams, who tells her he's a Russian from Moscow. She leans in close and says he doesn't smell Russian, when Harris steps in once again and turns the conversation, saying that Williams is a Georgian pretending to be Russian to get into her pants. After she leaves, Harris goes to help the others further inside. The team sneaks in, but before long comes across the woman who was brought in earlier. She is tied up, and they all discuss what they can do. If they let her go, the militia will catch her and know they're here. If they take her along, she will slow them down. Before they can come to a decision, a man comes in and they attack him. They strangle him, and the guy shoots blindly, which ends up killing the poor woman. Spencer sets up the scene to make it look like the two of them died by killing each other, when the man tried to force himself on her. The team then continue on their way, with Harris returning to Williams to keep up the technician scam. The team escapes being caught on several more occasions before finally finding the way down into the underground bunker. On their way, they cross a medical ward where they come across some corpses who have been dead for a long time now. From the looks of it, it seems like they were executed, but one of the men is still holding on to his gun. They notice a radio transmitter, which Corey says, if tripped, will send a signal to whoever put it there. Powell says that this is recent, which means that the doctor thereafter is expecting visitors. They continue on their way, while Williams and Harris notice that someone is consistently following the team. They try to warn them, but the signal won't reach Powell and the others. Underground, we see the inhuman figure tailing the team and eventually attacking one of them, Corey. Corey opens fire on his attacker, but the thing escapes, but not before it has injected Corey with something. Corey takes out the syringe as the team gathers around him, but they find no one there, and Corey seems fine. Meanwhile, Harris leaves Williams alone to go after the team and warn them about their pursuer. Underground, Corey begins to feel really warm, but Steinman says that it is freezing there. Corey is unable to continue and notices his arm is covered in huge blisters. Williams gets in trouble as the biker girl returns with more men who question him about his story and suspect him of spying on them. The rest of the team runs into difficulties when someone turns on gas where they are, making it difficult for them to breathe. Powell is then attacked by a creature, but is able to stop it from injecting him with the serum. As he struggles with the creature, Harris arrives in time to shoot it. A second creature attacks, but is also shot by Harris. As they are hurrying by, Harris unmasks the creatures to reveal a man with huge bulging eyes. Just then, a third creature fires at them, injuring Harris, who kills it. The team continues on, where they enter a series of tunnels until finally find the lab. Inside, they are able to find a bed and medical supplies to help Harris and get him settled. Powell and the others continue on their way and come across a room which looks like a child's nursery, very out of place in the current environment. The sound of a woman's moans catches their attention, and they all follow it until they come to a large hall, which would have been very fancy once, but is now used for experimentation. There they meet Dr. Irvine, who is not surprised to see Healy there. The moans belong to a woman who is pregnant and Irvine says is suffering from preeclampsia. Healy goes to tend to the woman as Irvine is questioned by Powell. He asks them about their man, Corey, who is missing, and about the syringe-waving lunatics who attacked them. She explains that they are war orphans who she trained and they help her in turn. She tells them that the syringes consist of a cocktail of some biochemical substances and are very dangerous. Healy comes out and accuses Irvine of not listening to her, saying that she suspected this would happen to the woman, who is called Specimen A or Allie. Powell is astonished to learn that the specimen Healy wanted to retrieve was 2 humans. Healy says that they can't leave now, as Allie is about to give birth and she can't move. Powell instructs Mason to keep the gun trained on Irvine while he takes Healy aside to talk. He tells her that they need to move in 30 minutes, as he can't leave Williams up there in danger and also risk losing access to their only escape route. He also figures that she worked as an assistant to Dr. Irvine and does not appreciate being lied to. Healy tries to tell him that they can't leave, as she's in charge, but Powell tells her firmly that they have 30 minutes and she can figure out how to proceed. He walks back to Irvine and admits that although he was instructed by his employers that he is not to ask questions about Irvine's work, but since the crap he and his team are in, with a guy missing, the team gassed, 1 guy shot in the stomach, and 1 alone amidst killers, he needs to know exactly what is going on. Irvine explains that although the Soviets were experts in the hard sciences, they lagged behind in genetics and were desperate to find something to give them an edge over the US and European countries. She shows them a piece of a meteorite while explaining that this was obtained from one of the many craters found in Russia. There they discovered organic material, DNA and stuff. Dr. Irvine was approached when she graduated from Cambridge as they needed a top geneticist to extract this DNA and use it. Powell assumes that she was offered many riches for this job, but Irvine laughs, saying that it wasn't riches that got her on board, but the fact that she was going to be allowed to carry out these experiments without any restrictions and ethics. Laws, Powell says. She then takes Powell and Steinman into a room, crossing the nursery the team had seen earlier. Powell asks her why there are children's toys here, and Irvine explains that the specimen needed to be educated so that she could assess their growth. Powell points out that the girl outside must be 16 or so, and Irvine replies that she is 5. Confused, Steinman and Powell follow her into a plastic tent, where a young boy stands with his back to them. But when he turns around, we see that he has multiple eyes and breathing spiracles on his neck. Irvine tells Powell that Goethe, the boy, can't speak and can understand basic commands, and he is also 5 years old. Since he can't breathe properly in their atmosphere, they keep him here where they are still trying to get the best mix of the atmosphere right for him. They step outside to talk further, and Steinman almost forgets her backpack, which Goethe hands her. It turns out he has taken her cell phone. Irvine tells Powell that the boy is half human, as she needed a base to fill in the gaps found in the alien DNA. Allie is about to give birth to a second generation of these specimens, and that one will be purer and hopefully brighter. Powell and Steinman are both highly disturbed to hear all this. We then see a video made by Healy about the progress of the two specimens. She says that they don't seem to be intelligent, and Healy fears that Irvine will do something drastic. There's a video clip of Goethe and Allie failing to slot basic shapes into their slots. But the scene shifts from video footage to reality, and we see that once the doctors leave, the boy and girl both show that they can move the block with their minds. Outside, Allie is in severe pain, and nothing they're giving her is helping. As Irvine and Healy prepare to do a cesarean to save the child, Steinman steps inside, asking them if they can't stop the pain or save Allie. When Irvine says no, Steinman shoots the girl to put her out of her misery. Irvine asks her if she has any idea of the billions of dollars that went into this research, and Steinman begins to scream at the doctor. Healy suggests they still perform the cesarean, but Irvine says that the girl's physiology is such that if she dies, the fetus would have too, so it is no use. Powell tells Irvine to get up, as she's coming with them, but she refuses. She knows she'll be killed here, or outside, and since she's spent 17 years here, she'd prefer to stay. Healy tells Powell to kill the doctor, telling him that her company's instructions were to gather the research and the specimen and destroy the lab, which included Dr. Irvine. Powell finds that once again he was lied to and insists that he is not an assassin. Healy says that he kills people left and right, but Powell refuses, even when Healy says there will be a separate £2 million reward for each of them. Powell sticks to not killing Irvine and taking her with them, and tells Mason to disarm Healy when Mason turns on his leader. He has been offered a lot of money and a new job. Powell tells him he's being stupid and will be killed, but Mason replies by saying that this whole idea was Harris's, who needs the money as well, and was sure Powell would see sense. Meanwhile, Steinman wanders back to Goethe and tells him the news about his sister's death. When she goes inside, he looks at her right hand and, perhaps realizing that she's the one who killed Allie, grabs her and throws her down so hard that she injures her spine. He then uncovers a device hidden underneath the rug and makes his way out. He joins the group where Mason is tying up Powell and Healy is telling Spencer to wait till they've left to kill Irvine. Goethe walks in to see Allie's dead body, and when Irvine, who believes him incapable of feeling any emotion, tries to tell him to return to his room, blows her head off with his device. Powell and Mason reconcile now that they have no further conflict over whether to kill Irvine, and they leave the lab to stop Goethe, who has fled. Meanwhile, Healy murders Steinman, and when she reveals her intention to kill Harris, he uses a grenade to destroy the lab. Mason returns to the lab and finds everyone dead. Spencer suggests that since the mission has been a complete failure, they simply leave together without worrying about any other objectives. A mutated Corey attacks and kills Spencer, only to be killed by Powell. Mason and Powell exit the tunnels and reunite with Williams. The group find the militia camp in disarray, fighting a losing battle against Goethe. Mason offers to sacrifice himself to give Powell a chance to kill Goethe. Healy, who is revealed to have survived, shoots Powell, wounding him. Williams kills her with a shotgun in response. The hybrid splits Mason in two with a machete. As Powell approaches the alien, it addresses him, telling him to kill it. Powell hesitates, and Goethe escapes, later being revealed to have entered the United Kingdom, and this is where the movie ends. Subscribe for more videos like this. Turn on the notification and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.